and welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Jess Holland, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Frontier Digital Ventures. The ASX ticker code is FDV. The company are experts in online marketplaces with a particular focus on property and automotive verticals and general marketplace websites. Here to tell us more is the CEO and founder, Shaun Di Gregorio. Hi, Shaun. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks, Jess. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Now, Shaun, let's just delve straight in. So for those of us who aren't familiar with the company, can you please give our Small Caps audience sort of a brief background on Frontier Digital Ventures and the market in which the company operates?
Sure. So our background or our history is in online classifieds. So many of your people tuning in would know the REA model. They'd know the car sales model in Australia. So imagine that. We've picked that up and we've taken that into emerging markets. So we focus on online marketplaces, property, online marketplaces, automotive. We do some general classifieds, and we focus, as I said, on emerging markets. So our areas that we operate in are three. We focus Latin America, or LATAM as we call. We have a business there called 360 LATAM that operates across about a dozen countries doing property and cars. We have businesses across the MENA region, which is Middle East, North Africa. That's called the MENA Marketplace Group. And again, very similar, focus on houses and cars. And we have a group of businesses in Asia that's simply called FDV Asia. Same model, big focus on online marketplaces in houses and cars. So those three key regions. We've got close to $80 to $90 million in revenue across about 15 businesses that are grouped into those three regions.
Yeah, so interesting, Shaun. And you mentioned emerging markets. Now, the company is expanding, its reach into developing countries, as you mentioned, where I guess we could argue that internet penetration is still growing. So what are the challenges and opportunities that you see of, operating in these sort of markets?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think it's sort of perception and reality too. I know it's very normal for people to imagine what emerging markets are like, and often it's accurate, but not altogether true. And typically these markets have really high internet penetration now, and it's really focused on mobile access to the internet. That was a big change probably 4 or 5 years ago in a lot of emerging markets, where people got their hands on cheap smartphones and all of a sudden could access online sites, could download more data, could look at more images, could watch more videos, because they had, number one, access through a relatively low cost handset, but number two, the advent or the evolution of cheap data was a huge change in emerging markets. So consumers went from accessing a limited volume of content to being able to access a whole range of content quickly on a good handset with reasonable data plans on pretty good speed. So a lot of those dynamics have made emerging markets really attractive. And for businesses like ours, the opportunity is to really help consumers do things easier that were more difficult before. And if you can imagine, if I'm in Latin America or Asia or MENA, going online or trying to find a house or a car can be quite a difficult process. There's lots of issues around trust. There's lots of issues around validity of sellers and the risk of being ripped off, for example. So these businesses, which is kind of the REA and the car sales model, go into emerging markets, and they not only help consumers solve a genuine problem, which is searching for houses and cars to buy, but they create a much more trusted environment in which to do it. So, we've collected all of the sellers of these products, we've vetted them, we've made sure they're real, we've given consumers a much easier way to find that content, to search and discover advertisements for houses and cars. So we've not only created a marketplace, which I think the REA and the car sales have done also, but we've created like a trusted intermediary as well. So there's someone in the market that helps consumers have a far more trusted, certain experience when searching and looking for houses and cars. And we've obviously helped people selling houses and cars to do so in a far more efficient manner. So I think our model, whilst it's obviously and clearly more convenient and it's quicker, it solved a genuine problem, which is putting trust into markets, creating certainty, and giving both people searching and both people selling much better outcomes And that's good for everyone. It's good if you're selling because you want to make a bit of money a bit faster. It's good if you're trying to buy because you can do so with far more certainty. So we're solving a genuine problem in emerging markets. It's not just the movement from print to online, which happened in a lot of developed countries. This has actually created marketplaces. It's created trust, and it's actually solved problems for people searching and people selling.
Yeah, thanks, Shaun. Now, the company's moving beyond sort of classifieds and into facilitating transactions, generating sort of commission style revenues. How is this transition going for the company, and what are the expected benefits that you hope to see?
Yeah, so typically, as I was saying, we've created environments where people can go online, they can search and discover. We've created environments where people can sell a lot more with greater certainty as well. But further to that, we've had consumers say, hey, I can now search and discover a house or a car I'm looking for. I can do it in this trusted environment. Can I please stay here and do more of the transaction? So it was a bit of demand for consumers saying, I don't want to leave this very trusted environment that you've created. Can I deal with the seller and can I complete the transaction? So we went to a number of our sellers, not all of them, but a select group, and said, hey, we've now got consumers coming to our site. They trust this environment. They've found your product, but they want us to effectively help and to facilitate the transaction. So they like the security and the safety of that. From a seller perspective, if they can sell more product faster in higher volumes at better prices, then obviously it's an attractive option for them as well. So what the model is evolving to, and I stress it evolving because they are still online classifieds businesses, but they're adding the ability for consumers to complete the transaction without necessarily leaving the environment of that online marketplace. And that's proving to be a very attractive option. As I said, it just helps consumers do more of the transaction whilst staying in a trusted environment. It helps sellers transact more of their product, which is clearly what they're there to do. And if we can help our sellers shift more of their inventory in greater volume, quicker and at a higher price, then that's good for them. And we've been able to then generate revenues from the commissions on those transactions. So our model is based on and predicated on advertising revenues, which everyone is probably quite familiar with, but it's also now adding more share of the commission on the transactions. And that's a really unique dynamic to emerging markets. And that's where a lot of the future value, a lot of the future opportunity in these businesses is. You go out, you build your classifieds business, you build a brand, you get consumer loyalty, you get sellers engaged, and then you say, hey, we can actually help transact this house or this car. We don't have to stop at search and discover. And that's proving to be a really attractive option for many consumers and sellers as these models and these markets evolve.
Yeah, so interesting, Shaun. Now, sort of staying on the topic of buyers and sellers, I wanted to speak a little bit about, your new initiative, Iris, which links property developers with selling agents and brokers. How do you think that this, or Iris, sort of addresses the problem of property developers pushing their own brands and creating a disconnect between developers and the intermediaries that you mentioned previously?
Yeah, typically in emerging markets, they've got another interesting characteristic is you have property developers and you have property agents. Now, in some developed countries, the property agents would often act on behalf of the property developers. They would sell the new apartments being built for the property developers. In emerging markets, property developers do it all themselves. And it creates a disconnect between property developers who have all the inventory and property agents who tend to have a lot of buyers. And we've simply created a product or a system where our property developer customers can put their inventory into a database, which we then give direct access to all of our brokers, all of our property agents across our region. So to use South America or Latin America, for example, we have about 8,000 brokers across our network. We have hundreds of developers and they don't talk to each other. So we've created a database where property developers can put their inventory into Iris. We give access to our brokers who have the buyers and that they can create more transactions. So we're solving a problem that's historic. We're solving a problem that's sort of entrenched, which is, property developers not using brokers. As the intermediary, as the marketplace, we're now able to connect those two groups, and any transactions that are generated through Iris, we're able to take a share of the commissions that are being generated on those transactions. So again, it's about our role, not just as a platform for search and discover, but very much as a marketplace, very much as a means of connecting consumers with sellers, but moreover now being able to connect, developers, property developers who have all of this inventory that's being built and they can't necessarily clear. We've got all of these brokers who have lots of buyers looking for inventory. So we're simply putting them together using a bit of technology. It's proving to be a very popular product across the markets we've launched it in, which at the moment are in our Latin American business, 360 LATAM.
Yeah, and Shaun, the popularity of your product is certainly showing in terms of your revenue. So the company has reported positive cash flow for the third consecutive quarter. Congratulations. With an EBITDA of 2.2 million. What factors, can you give our audience in terms of, what is driving this positive performance in particular?
Look, hard work. So I wish there was a sexier kind of answer. But what we've found over the last year or so, it's been pretty tough in the markets. Like the operating conditions in markets, as people maybe watching this would know, have been pretty tough. We've had high interest rates, we've had inflation. So that sort of takes out of the market a lot of the activity around purchasing houses and cars. And as we've seen economies start to recover, particularly in the last 4 to 6 months, we've seen revenue growth accelerate, which of course has helped our cash flows. Now underlying that is a lot of the work we've done over the past 15 months at really getting our cost base under control, really optimizing our cost base and trying to lower our costs. And as revenue growth rates accelerate, we're starting to see much more improved cash flows and operating margins. So it's a function of the hard work that's been done over the past 12 to 15 months in conditions that have been probably reasonably difficult, everywhere, but we're starting to see really good signs of recovery. We're seeing our revenue growth accelerate, and we're doing that off a lower cost base. So the beauty of that is, as we move into next year, we see margin growth, and that's a really important factor for a business that's doing sort of tech in emerging markets. We need to perform and big tick for all of our key financial measures, which is really pleasing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Shaun, how the company's, managed to drive this very positive performance despite those headwinds of high inflation and rising interest rates. And one really interesting product that you have is Avito, which you acquired, 2 years ago, which has become, I believe, one of the company's largest profit contributors, with an EBITDA margin of over 32%. What has driven that turnaround of Avito?
So Avito is a business it's located in Morocco. It's a general classifieds business, so it does houses, cars, and everything else. And we were already operating in Morocco. We were operating an automotive portal, so we were very familiar with Avito, and the opportunity came up to acquire it, and we took that opportunity. And I guess when we looked at the business, we saw a market-leading brand, tons of traffic, tons of content, but the business was underperforming. And in fact, in the year preceding the year in which we acquired it, I think it had lost $3 million off, 7 or 8 in revenue. So in the space of a couple of years, we've been able to turn that business around. The business is growing, and it's now profitable. So it's a huge credit to the team, and it's become a really significant business for us. So it also goes to, I guess, part of our value proposition at an FDV level, where, we're very, very clear on this business model. We know the markets really well. And when we were able to identify a business like Avito, which, as I said, we'd actually been very familiar with because we were already in Morocco, and we saw a business that had all of the characteristics of what should be a really good business, but it was just underperforming on its financials. Had lots of traffic, great brand, lots of people using it, very popular, very well known, but was losing money, which we found really odd. So we were able to acquire it. We've been able to turn the business around. It's now profitable and it's growing. So lots of hard work and just being really clear about what's important in these businesses and doing it at a lower cost. And that's it's been a real credit to the team this year.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Shaun. I think, having a clear strategy, trying to operate at low cost or keep cost efficiencies and having a clear focus on where you want the business to go is so key. Now, sort of shifting a little bit, I guess a more controversial question for you. Shaun, despite having all of this, positive financial performance, the company's share price has depreciated over the last 12 months. How can you explain to our small caps audience, why is there this disconnect between a company's very positive financial performance and its share price? What's going on?
Yeah, look, very good question, and one I get asked a fair bit, as you'd imagine. And I guess we were caught in the tide as it went out on tech stocks, which has been a function of the last 18 months. You add to that the fact we're in emerging markets, and for reasons that still elude me, whenever the macro picture gets a bit cloudy, emerging markets seem to get disproportionately punished. So we had this perfect storm of being a tech company in emerging markets. And along with a lot of stocks like ours, we were probably marked down. And I guess a feature of our business is that we've been at this a really long time. So I've been in online marketplaces for almost 25 years, Jess. So we know the model really well. We know the markets we're in, and we know what drives value. And we've just kept on focusing on our strategy, and we've been really clear. We've got a well-earned reputation of doing what we say we're going to do. And we've just continued to focus on the fundamentals of the businesses. And that's getting the model right, getting your cost base right, being really clear, as you mentioned, about your strategy. And our businesses have continued to grow. So look, I think the market's in catch-up mode now. I think, we're starting to see people understand the value that's in our business now. It's such a low price. It's frustratingly low. And I think if you look at the key performance of the business, you're seeing something that's getting increasingly healthy. We're profitable, we're cash flow positive, and we're growing. So big tick on all the key financials. People just need to get comfortable with the model again, and they only have to look at the REA car sales examples to refamiliarize themselves with what's possible, and then understand that the opportunity in emerging markets is real, and it's not going away. It's significant, and we're really well positioned to take advantage of it. But absolutely, are we undervalued? Yes. And I think people have got an opportunity to take a piece of a great business that's doing pretty cool things in emerging markets.
Yeah, thanks, Shaun. And now talking about the opportunity in emerging markets and, the model and the strategy that you have, can you give our small caps audience sort of the company's growth plans for the future and how it plans to capitalize on those opportunities presented by developing markets that you're operating in?
Look, I think key for us is, market leading brands. So in our business model, in all markets, there's a clear market leader, and that's where you need to be. And all of our brands are market leaders, number one. That enables you to innovate around, as you mentioned, the transacting of houses and cars. Now, typically, people have got very, very comfortable with the search and discover phase. I can go online, I can search for a property, I can search for a house. And that's the foundation of our businesses. They're classified businesses. They have recurring revenues, and that's fantastic, and we love that. But what we are doing strategically is adding to that the ability for consumers to do much, much more on the pathway to the transaction, and in many of our markets, assisting them right through the transaction. So you'll see increasing transaction volumes being generated through our portals. Now, the addressable opportunity, when you think about the volume of transactions, is enormous. We're not saying we're going to capture all of that. You only have to capture a little bit of it. You only have to get it a little bit right to generate a lot of value. And that's very much where our strategy is at over the next few years. And we're really clear-minded of that. And it's something that we've laid out for our investors to understand. But we've got to bring everyone along that journey. And that relies on us continuing to update the market and help them understand not just the opportunity that's out there, but the way in which we're pursuing it. And we'll continue to do that into next year. But really looking forward to 2024 as being much brighter than perhaps the last 18 months. So yeah, we're pretty excited about next year.
Yeah, fantastic, Shaun. Now, you have already touched on, a couple of these very key points, but I have one final question for you, and that is, can you provide our audience with 2 or 3 key takeaways as to why they should potentially invest in Frontier Digital Ventures?
Yeah, look, I think people should always remember that it doesn't matter where you live, where you are, what country you're in, the need to have a house, the need to have a car, the aspiration to have a better house or a bigger car is everywhere. And the ability for consumers to do that relies on a safe, secure, and trusted marketplace, a platform, which is us. That's what we do. And of course, we're now able to assist, sellers to generate more volume on the sell side as well. So whether that's property developers, brokers or agents, or whether that's car dealers or car manufacturers, we're not just a search and discover platform, we're a marketplace. So we're connecting people, but we're helping them do the transaction. And that opportunity in emerging markets is enormous. That's not going away. It's real. And we're really well positioned right across our 3 regions to make the most of that and deliver value for shareholders. And right now, I think there's enormous value given where we're priced. So I'd encourage people to have a deeper look at us.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Shaun. Thank you so much for your time and for
Thanks,
all of
Jess.
your insights, and really look forward to welcoming you back on the show very soon.
Thank you.